Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be with you today. I believe God has something special for us as we talk AB. Out a powerful principle that can change your life. And that's the idea of never telling people what you do. You see, we live in a world where people are constantly trying to define themselves by their titles, their jobs, or what they've accomplished. But today I want to encourage you to think differently. You don't need to tell people what you do. Let your actions speak for you. Let the way you treat others, the way you live your life, be the testimony of who you truly are. Think about it when you're truly living with integrity, kindness, and compassion. People don't need to hear about your accomplishments. They can see it in your actions. Your life becomes the message. And it's so much more powerful than anything you could ever say. We often fall into the trap of seeking validation from others. We want people to know how hard we've worked, how much we've achieved, and how successful we've become. But friends, I want to remind you today, true greatness is not found in titles or job descriptions. It's found in the way you show up for others, in the way you serve, in the way you walk in humility. You don't need to constantly promote yourself. When you're focused on adding value to the lives of those around you, you don't have to tell them what you do. They'll see it in how you make them feel, in how you lift them up. There's no need for self-promotion when you're walking in your purpose. Now, I know sometimes we can feel the pressure to prove ourselves to others. We want to show people that we're important, that we matter. But let me remind you today, your worth is not in your title. Your worth is in your heart. Your worth is in your character. And that's what people will notice when you're walking in humility. There's a power in humility. When you don't need to tell people what you do, you create space for others to recognize your worth on their own. And when they do, it's genuine, it's real, and it's lasting. And let me say this, trust in God's timing and His purpose for your life. You don't need to rush to tell others about your success or accomplishments. God has a plan for you, and in His perfect timing, He will bring the recognition and the promotion. But until that time comes, focus on doing the right thing for the right reasons. Focus on serving others and let God take care of the rest. So I encourage you today, don't feel the need to tell people what you do. Let your life speak louder than any words ever could. Trust that when you walk with integrity, when you walk with love and humility, people will notice. And more importantly, God will notice, and He will honor you in ways you can't even imagine. Let your actions be the message. Let your heart be the compass. And trust that you are exactly where God wants you to be, doing exactly what He has called you to do. Let me tell you something today that might shock you. You don't have to say a word to show the world who you are. In fact, some of the most powerful messages are the ones we never speak. The world is constantly bombarded with noise, people talking, sharing their opinions, posting about their success. But here's the truth, words can be cheap. They can be manipulated. They can even deceive. But your actions, they can't lie. They can't be faked. Your actions are the truest reflection of who you really are. And that is what truly impacts the world. When I say your actions speak louder than words, I want you to think about that for a moment. Imagine someone who tells you they care about you, but never shows up when you need them. They tell you they're there for you, but their actions tell a completely different story. In the end, what do you believe? The words or the actions? Your actions have a unique ability to cut through the noise of words. Actions are a universal language. They transcend culture, they transcend background, and they speak to the core of who we are. Have you ever had someone help you in a moment of need? No words were exchanged, just a helping hand, a kind gesture, a small act of service. That action spoke volumes about who they were, didn't it? You didn't need them to tell you, I'm a caring person. You saw it in what they did. So let me ask you, are you letting your actions speak for you? Or are you relying on your words to fill in the gaps? Words are easy. You can say anything. And in this world of social media, you can craft your image however you want. But at the end of the day, the world doesn't remember what you said, it remembers what you did. And what you did will either build trust or break it down. The truth is, the world is watching, and they're not just listening to what you say. They're paying attention to what you do when no one's looking. They're watching to see if you live up to the words you speak. And the more you talk without backing it up with your actions, the less credibility you have. Think about it. How many times have we seen someone speak with great enthusiasm, telling everyone how much they care, how much they want to help, how much they're going to change the world. But then when the opportunity arises, they're nowhere to be found. No one is fooled by empty promises. And the saddest part is, those words don't just fade away, they hurt, they cause disappointment, and they destroy trust. But when your actions match your words, something remarkable happens. You create a legacy. People begin to believe in you not because of what you say, but because of what you've done. Actions create a ripple effect that's far more powerful than any spoken word. When you show up for others, when you give without expecting anything in return, when you stay true to your promises, your life becomes a testimony. I want you to understand this: people may forget the things you say, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. They will never forget the way you showed up, the way you helped, the way you were present. Your actions will echo long after your words have faded. You see, it's easy to tell people you love them, but the true test of love is in the sacrifice you make for them. It's easy to say you care about your community, but the true test is in how you serve it. Words are often just a cover for action that never comes. But actions are the real deal. They are the truth in motion. And let me tell you, this is not just about what others see. This is about your own integrity. This is about how you see yourself in the mirror. Do you want to be a person who speaks about doing great things? Or do you want to be a person who does great things even when no one is watching? Because I promise you, the world will notice. God will notice. And the impact of your actions will be felt in ways words never could. It's not enough to just talk about the kind of person you want to be. You've got to show it. If you want to be known as someone who lifts others up, then start lifting them up today. If you want to be known as someone who serves, start serving today. Don't wait for the applause or the recognition. It's the quiet moments, the unsung actions that will define your legacy. So the next time you're faced with a choice, remember this: your actions will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Let them reflect who you truly are. Let them reflect your values. Let them be the loudest, most powerful statement of your life. Focus on adding value, not seeking validation. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. If you're constantly chasing validation, you're missing the point. You see, we live in a world where everyone seems to be seeking recognition, approval, and praise. We post our accomplishments, we share our victories, and we wait for the world to applaud us. But let me ask you, what happens when the applause doesn't come? What happens when no one notices your hard work? What happens when the validation you're seeking never arrives? Let's face it, the truth is validation is temporary. The moment the applause fades, you're left with emptiness. It's a fleeting high that leaves you constantly searching for the next hit of approval. And the worst part, you start to define your worth by the opinions of others. You allow the world to dictate how you feel about yourself. And that's a dangerous place to be. Because when you're constantly seeking validation, you're only reinforcing the idea that your value comes from what others think of you. But here's the truth: your value is not defined by others. It's defined by the impact you make. It's defined by the way you lift others up, the way you make people feel, the way you contribute to the world. The real secret to success, to fulfillment, and to lasting satisfaction is not in seeking approval, it's in adding value. When you focus on adding value, something remarkable happens. You stop worrying about what people think of you. You stop chasing after empty praise and start chasing after something much more powerful, the opportunity to make a difference. And when you shift your focus from seeking validation to adding value, you begin to tap into a deeper source of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. Think about it. When you give without expecting anything in return, when you pour into others without waiting for them to acknowledge it, something changes. You start to live for something bigger than yourself. You start to realize that your actions, your contributions, your willingness to serve are what truly matter. And that is a power that no amount of validation can ever match. But here's the kicker: when you stop seeking validation, that's when the recognition comes. That's when people start to notice your efforts, not because you asked them to, but because you've been focused on something greater than yourself. You've been focused on adding value, and that's what makes you stand out. Now, let me challenge you. How many of us are living our lives based on what other people think of us? How many of us are making decisions, taking actions, or even choosing careers based on the approval of others? And when that approval isn't there, we feel small, we feel unseen, we feel like we don't matter. But the truth is, you matter whether anyone sees you or not. Your value is not in your ability to get others to notice you. Your value is in your ability to add something meaningful to this world. Imagine if we all stopped living for the likes, the shares, the comments, and the recognition. What if we lived every day with the sole purpose of adding value? What if we showed up and served? Not because we were expecting something in return, but because we understood the power of making an impact on others' lives. That, my friends, is where true success lies. It's easy to get caught up in the trap of wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, wanting to be validated. But when you're focused on adding value, you become a force of nature. You become someone who doesn't need validation because you're already fulfilling your purpose. You're already doing the work that truly matters. And when that happens, the world will notice. But it won't be because you begged for attention. It'll be because your actions are speaking louder than any word of praise ever could. So stop chasing the applause. Stop living for the validation. Start living for the value you can bring to this world. Start focusing on how you can lift others up, how you can contribute, how you can make a difference. When you do that, everything else falls into place. Let me tell you something that may shake your very understanding of success and self-worth. True worth doesn't come from what you do, it comes from who you are. And I know that's not the message we hear every day. We live in a world where everyone is focused on what you can accomplish, how much money you make, what title you hold. But let me tell you, the world doesn't define your value, you do. Your worth is not measured by your job, your salary, or the status you hold in the eyes of others. Your worth is defined by your character, by the integrity in your heart, by how you treat others when no one's looking. You are more than a title. You are more than a list of accomplishments. And if you define your worth by external things, you will always find yourself falling short, always chasing the next thing, always seeking the next achievement to prove to the world that you matter. But here's the truth: you matter, not because of what you do, but because of who you are inside. Your character, your kindness, your generosity, these are the things that give you value. And the moment you realize that your worth comes from within, you unlock a power that no amount of success can touch. Now, here's where it gets even more shocking. Your actions will always reveal what's inside of you. You can say anything. You can put on the best mask, tell the world how successful you are, how much you care, how good of a person you are. But when your actions speak differently, when your behavior contradicts your words, people see it. And that's when your true worth is revealed. It's easy to say you're a person of integrity, a person of love, a person of compassion. But integrity isn't a word you speak, it's a choice you make every day. Compassion isn't something you talk about, it's something you demonstrate in how you treat others. Your actions speak louder than any word you can say. And those actions, what you do when no one's looking, how you show up when no one's expecting you, will either confirm or destroy your true worth. You see, people can tell when you're faking it. They can tell when you're just putting on a front, just speaking the right words without living them. You can't fool the world forever. You can't fool people with words alone. And the saddest part is, while you're out there chasing validation from others, trying to prove your worth through external accomplishments, the people who truly matter, those who can see through the noise, will recognize that your actions are speaking the truth about who you really are. I think about the people you admire most. Do you admire them because of their job title, the awards they've won, the social media posts they share? Or do you admire them because of how they make you feel, how they lift you up, how they treat the least among us with respect and kindness? True greatness is not about how much you've achieved. It's about who you are when no one is watching, when the cameras are off, when the applause is faded. That's when your true worth is revealed. And this is the part that might shock you even more. No one can take your worth away from you, because it's not based on external factors. No one can strip you of your dignity, your value, or your purpose if you know where your true worth comes from. They can take your job, they can take your possessions, they can even take your reputation, but they can never take who you are on the inside. That is where the power lies. Your worth is anchored in your character, in your ability to love, to serve, to be kind. These things are unshakable. The world may try to convince you that your worth is based on your bank account, your popularity, or your social standing, but I'm here to tell you those things are fleeting. They come and go, but your true worth, your character, your integrity, your soul, that is what lasts. So stop trying to prove yourself to others. Stop trying to chase validation from the outside world. Focus on building the person inside. Focus on your integrity, your kindness, your generosity. Let your actions be the true reflection of your worth. When you live from the inside out, you begin to live a life that's untouchable, unshakable, and truly fulfilling. Let me tell you something today that will likely challenge everything you've ever been taught about success. Humility is not weakness. It's not about being passive, shrinking back, or playing small. Humility is not about downplaying your worth. It's about recognizing that your true power doesn't come from boasting or seeking attention. It comes from being secure enough in who you are that you don't need to prove it to anyone. In a world that celebrates ego, arrogance, and self-promotion, humility seems like a lost art. We're constantly told to get ahead, to make noise, to stand out, and let everyone know what we're capable of. But here's the truth: humility is the ultimate power. The more you elevate others, the more you lift yourself up, the more you serve, the more you rise. You see, there's an unseen power in humility. It's the power of influence. It's the power of connection. It's the power to change the atmosphere around you without saying a word. When you humble yourself, when you're not obsessed with being in the spotlight, something remarkable happens. You become a magnet for greatness. People are drawn to humility. They want to follow it. They want to be around it because it creates an environment of trust, respect, and authenticity. Now, let me shock you with this. The most powerful people I've met in my life are the ones who never had to tell you how powerful they were. They didn't have to boast. They didn't need to make sure you saw how successful they were. Their power was in their humility. They let their actions speak. They made others feel like they mattered. They understood something profound, that true greatness is not about rising above others. It's about lifting others up. But here's the shocking part. Humility is often mistaken for weakness. People confuse quiet strength with passivity. They mistake confidence and silence for insecurity. Humility doesn't mean you don't stand up for yourself or that you let people walk all over you. It means you don't need to shout about how great you are to get attention or recognition. You allow your actions, your service, and your kindness to speak for you. Humility is also powerful because it frees you from the shackles of comparison. Think about it. When you're not focused on being better than anyone else, you're free to truly celebrate the success of others. You no longer feel threatened by someone else's rise because your value doesn't depend on beating someone else. Your success is defined by your ability to serve and uplift others, not outshine them. This shift in mindset makes all the difference. It's what creates real, lasting relationships. It's what creates community. Humility also opens the door to true wisdom. When you stop thinking you have all the answers, when you stop acting like you know everything, that's when growth begins. You become teachable. You become open to new ideas, new ways of doing things. The most successful people are the ones who know that there's always more to learn, always room to grow, and they don't let their pride stand in the way of that. But here's what really might surprise you. Humility is what will get you promoted. In a world where everyone's shouting, trying to climb to the top by any means necessary, humility doesn't just keep you grounded, it propels you forward. You see, people are watching, and they're not just watching the loudest or most flamboyant person. They're watching the one who leads with compassion, who doesn't have to make a scene to be noticed. They're watching the person who quietly goes about doing great things without needing a standing ovation. That's the person who gets the promotion. You don't need to self-promote. You don't need to shout from the rooftops. When you walk in humility, your actions are loud enough. Humility attracts the right kind of attention, the kind that lasts. It doesn't require a stage. It doesn't need validation. It speaks directly to the hearts of people. So the next time you feel the urge to boast, to show off, to remind everyone of your greatness, remember this: the real power is in humility. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the calm in the storm, the strength in the silence, the one who serves and uplifts without ever asking for anything in return. And that's when your real power shines through. Let me tell you something that might hit you deep today. You don't control the timing of your life. And that's okay. I know we've all been told that success comes from hard work and constant hustle. And don't get me wrong, those things are important. But there's one thing that trumps everything else: God's timing and His purpose for your life. And here's the shocker: it's often not what you expect. And it's definitely not in the timeline you think it should be. How many of you have felt like you've worked hard, prayed hard, and still watched others move ahead while you're stuck? How many of you have asked, why isn't this happening for me? I get it. It's frustrating. But here's the shocking truth: the reason why things may not be moving on your timeline is because God is preparing you for something far greater than you could ever imagine. You may feel like you're at a standstill, but in reality, God is aligning everything, even when you can't see it. I want to hit you with this: God's timing is not your timing. It's not about your deadlines, your plans, or your to-do lists. His timing is perfect even when it doesn't make sense to you. And that's the hardest thing to understand, because we want control. We want to be the ones to determine when things happen, when things change, and when we step into our purpose. But God's timing isn't like the world's clock. His timing is eternal. His purpose is unstoppable. It's not bound by the constraints of this world, and thank God for that. You see, we often want things to happen fast. We want the job, the promotion, the relationship to come immediately. But God knows something you might not be ready yet. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. If God gave you everything you wanted, the second you wanted it, you might not be able to handle it. That's not a failure on your part, it's protection. He knows the timing of your life better than you do. He knows when you're going to be strong enough, mature enough, and wise enough to handle the blessings He has for you. Now, I know what you're thinking: I've been waiting, I've been patient, but here's the shocker. Sometimes the wait is not about the blessing itself, it's about the person you're becoming during the wait. It's in those moments of uncertainty, of frustration, and of feeling overlooked that God is shaping your character. He's building your strength, your resilience, your faith. Those delays you feel are not denials. They are divine setups for what's to come. You can't see it now, but you will. And when you do, you'll realize that everything you went through was part of a greater plan. And let me hit you with something even more surprising. God's purpose for you is often bigger than anything you've imagined. The reason why things might not be happening yet is because your purpose is so much greater than your current situation. The promotion you're waiting for is just a small part of the impact you're going to have on this world. The relationship that hasn't come yet is nothing compared to the family, community, and legacy you're going to build. We get so fixated on the next step, the immediate goal, the next thing that's supposed to happen. But God is working on the bigger picture, something that will not only impact your life, but the lives of everyone around you. Your purpose doesn't just affect you, it's connected to something far greater. And you may not realize it, but every moment of waiting is positioning you for that larger purpose. But here's the truth: waiting on God's timing requires faith. It requires trust. Trust that He is not only working in your life, but that He has already gone ahead of you, aligning everything you need. Faith is believing that when God says it's your time, you won't have to chase it, beg for it, or manipulate it. It will come to you. And it will come at the perfect time, not the rushed, pressured, or forced time. You may not see the way forward right now. You may feel like the doors are closed, like the breakthrough is far away, like the opportunity is slipping through your fingers. But hear this: God is never late. He's not working on your schedule, but His plan is far better than anything you could ever dream. And when it unfolds, you will know it was worth every second of the wait. So today I want to challenge you: stop trying to rush your destiny. Stop trying to force things to happen. Trust in God's timing. Trust that what He has for you is coming. It's coming not when you think you're ready, but when He knows you're ready. And in the meantime, let go of your timeline, let go of your own agenda, and trust that God is working behind the scenes to bring about something greater than you could ever ask for or imagine. In conclusion, we've explored powerful truths that can transform the way we live. Humility, rather than pride, is the true source of strength and influence. When we stop chasing validation and focus on adding value, we unlock a deeper sense of purpose. True worth comes from within, from the integrity of our character and the impact we have on others, not from external achievements. And above all, trusting in God's timing is essential. His purpose for us unfolds in ways we can't always understand. But when we embrace His plan, we find peace and fulfillment. These principles challenge us to rethink success, purpose, and value. When we stop trying to control everything and start trusting that we're exactly where we need to be, we discover that the power, the growth, and the breakthroughs we've been waiting for were always within us. Thank you, and may God bless you richly as you continue to walk in His purpose. Amen.